I made this jig for doing dados with my router. The problem is, after I made this, I realized that my guide bushing was significantly off center, so that my dados wouldn't be the same if I held the router differently. So I figured out how to center my my guide bushing, and the way I did that was to remove the screws. Normally they're mounted with these flathead screws, so you have no adjustment in the base plate. The base plate itself is perfect, but the holes in the router base are a little off center. So what I did was I drilled out the holes for panhead screws. So I used a 1/2 inch Forstner bit to drill these holes carefully, not to go too deep, but deep enough so that the head of the screw is there, and that's enough adjustment to center my base plate. Okay, the next thing I did was I drilled holes in all my guide bushings, so I can use a pair of, these are actually snap ring pliers, so I can use them like a wrench to tighten and loosen, because I had a heck of a time trying to tighten these and center them. There's only a tiny bit of play in the guide bushing, but there's still a little bit. So if you want to center it perfectly, you can hold it and then use the pliers to lock it in place. Okay, so after drilling these holes out, then you have to find something that you can use to align the guide bushing. I just found a piece of aluminum tubing. You can actually use just a 1/2 inch dowel. If it's nice and straight, you can put that in your collet, and when you put your base plate on, you can see the space around it and just make it even all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and use my aluminum tube, because I think it'll be a little easier to see. Now we just put that in and just hand tighten it, just so it doesn't move. We put this on, put these screws back in. I'm just going to run these down a little bit. Now you can see how much play there is in here. That gives you enough to just eyeball your guide bushing and make sure the space is even all the way around. And then we lock it in place with the screws. The other thing that I've noticed is that the guide bushings want to center themselves. So once you center your base plate, the guide bushings generally just line up. So now it's locked in place. If I turn the router, you can see that the space stays even. So my pin, my alignment pin, I know is straight. So the space all the way around is pretty even. And that's really all there is to it. So now once I put my bit in, I know it's centered, and it'll be the same every time I use it.